Welcome back, guys. So today we're going to talk about the fifth mode of the major scale, the Mixolydian mode. This one, everybody's heard it. It's very versatile. It's been used across all kinds of different rock genres and actually even non-rock genres like jazz, blues, some funk. This one, it's based on the fifth degree of the major scale, so it's more or less a major scale, but the biggest difference is instead of playing a sharp 7 or a regular 7, you're going to play a flatted 7th, so it kind of gives it kind of like a bluesier kind of, I guess, more of like a rougher kind of sound to it than a regular major scale would. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right in and show you guys what this scale shape looks like. So Mixolydian mode is going to look a lot like this. So yeah, as you can see, when I was playing through the pattern, instead of going for this note in the scale, instead you flat it down and you play that note. So that's where you get that kind of bluesiness. I'm sure, like, if you've seen the pentatonic scale in some other videos or some other YouTubers, that shape should look kind of familiar to you because that's where that shape is derived from. So, like I said, a lot of the stuff that you would hear this in is just like, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, radio rock or 80s hair metal. Some blues musicians would use this. Sometimes, but not a whole lot. It's not really standard blues progression. But also, yeah, you're going to hear it an awful lot in funk just because, and we'll talk about it later, but that's mostly because you can use a 7th scale for the major chords as opposed to just playing a major chord. But yeah, so that's what that one looks like. And then I'll show you real quick for a quick comparison between the Mixolydian mode and the major scale, so that way you guys can kind of see what it looks like. So the major scale, to refresh your memory. But the Mixolydian mode is going to look like this. So there's your difference. So let's go ahead and talk about chords and progressions that you can use for this scale. So it's an awful lot like the major scale. Again, being based on the 5th degree of the scale. The importance of that is the fact that those are the two main, I would call, home notes in any scale, is the 1st and the 5th, because they're the most stable and solid notes in those scales. So that being said, if you're playing a scale based on the 5th note of the scale, it's going to have very similar chords. So your most important chords in this scale are going to be the 1st, the 7th, and the 4th. So let me go ahead and show you what that progression looks like. And the reason you want to use those is because they are the major chords of this particular scale. In my experiences with this mode, I would say also you can use the flat 5th, which is very interesting because in most scales, the 5th is going to be a major or in other words, it's called a dominant chord. But in this scale, not so much. So it's very interesting. So if you throw that into that same progression I just did, it'll sound an awful lot like this. Now in this case, I played it as a flat 7, and you're going to want to do that as opposed to playing a regular minor, and I'll show you why in just a second here. Doesn't quite sound right, does it? Well, that's because when you play the full minor, one of the notes in it kind of is outside of the scale, so you want to remove it and play a flat 7 in there, and that's kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about the scale. You can use flat 7 chords in here. So let me show you too, beginning with the 1st, you can play your 1st chord of the scale. You can play that as a 7 as well, and it sounds just fine. Check this out. There's a regular form of it. There's the 7th form of it. So when you do that, it sounds a lot like this instead. So see, you can kind of hear the jazz and the blues and stuff coming out in it now. So, it's a very versatile kind of mode. It's a very old sounding mode to me. To me personally, it sounds just kind of old fashioned, kind of old sounding. I'll tell you right now, in my own personal playing, I don't use it that often, but I know out in the real world it is used quite a bit. So, alright guys, well that's really all I wanted to cover on the Mixolydian mode. Next is probably, especially for metal players and everybody, that wants to play more serious sounding music. Next we're going to do the Alien mode, which is also the minor scale. And yeah, that one's very exciting. I can't wait to get to that one. And then we'll be wrapping up very soon. I'm still trying to figure out ideas for the Locrian mode, so I'm really not sure how we're going to approach that when we get there, but we'll get there. And yeah, just go ahead and check out the jam track at the end of the video. And next week we'll be talking about minor. So have a good week. Thanks, guys.